I bought these crazy speakers off of AliExpress that obviously don't look like a blatant rip-off of a B&W speaker. It's a three-way speaker with a giant mid-range dome. These things were like 230 bucks shipped. Oh yeah. We're gonna talk about how they sound. We're gonna take a look at the crossover. And we're gonna figure out if these cheap AliExpress speakers are too good to be true. So sit down, grab a cup of Cam coffee. The link is in the description. Super awesome. We'll talk about it later. Oh, there goes the port. I don't think this was even glued in. Doom, 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 doom. In the past, I have bought a few cheap products that I think are absurd off of AliExpress. One of which was a Class A amplifier for $230 and actually turned out to be fairly decent. When I found these, I had to buy them. This is a three-way speaker, which incidentally is not that heavy, which is generally a bad sign. But I'm gonna give it the benefit of the doubt. On the top, you have a tweeter. Here you have a mid-range driver. And down here, a woofer. The way a three-way speaker generally works is that the tweeter, well, it gets the high frequencies. The mid-range gets, well, the mid-dull frequency range. Woofer gets the bass. Now, the way that the speaker designer does that is they use a crossover network inside. Generally some resistors, some inductors, and some capacitors that send the right frequencies to the right driver. Those don't come cheap, generally. So we're going to take a look at what the crossover looks like inside this speaker. These were actually $208. I think that was, yes, shipped. Free shipping, because the People's Republic of China does not subsidize shipping at all on cheap electronics. They never do that. Not a lot of information on the product page. Gives a sensitivity of 88 dB, which means how much power does this speaker take to make it play loud. Tweeter looks to be about 3/4 of an inch. The 45-degree angles here on the vinyl veneer, not bad. I have seen plenty of more expensive speakers be built worse. Everything on top looks nice. The problem I have with these speakers is that they're not very heavy. And with 3 drivers and a giant crossover inside, you would think it would be heavier. Woofer looks to be decent. Mid-range driver moves. And the tweeter seems to be all right. You know what? We are going to be able to dig into here. We'll just pull the mid-range and the woofer. I want to take it apart, but I got to listen to it first. Listen, these are not going to get an in-depth sound review. I'm going to say, hey, they sound okay, or they don't sound okay. How'd they sound? Overall, they don't sound bad. They've got a lot of clean detail, or at least perceived clean detail. The problem is a lot of that top end is just shh, shh. Kind of like white noise at the right frequency at the right time. Not terrible, but brief, not very musical. Lena Hall, her cover of Creep, which is outstanding. When she goes up, she's hitting about 2300 hertz. The rest of that song, she sounded great. Too clean though, because she's actually a little bit warm with the vocals until she goes up, which tells me there is a boost at 2300 to 2700 hertz. And you can tell that because when somebody hits that frequency, whether it be a voice or an instrument, it comes way forward. At lower volumes, it sounds pretty good. These remind me a bit of the Klipsch sound. Also reminds me a bit of, well, a B&W speaker. Also, they have no bass. I turned them all the way up with Intergalactic and I could barely get the woofer to move. They were hitting about 93 dB in my office right here, which is loud.
But it was all mid-range.
I tried to get the woofer moving, but it wasn't moving. Pretty in Pink was unlistenable. If you leave, Don't look back. There's a part in there that goes all the way into 27. It gets worse about 2300, and then if you get something going up to 2700 hertz, it's unlistenable at louder volumes. I would imagine it's because of a crappy crossover, if there's a crossover in here at all. Let's tear these things open. But first, a word from our sponsors, which is me. I'm sponsoring my own video with Cam Coffee. Now, Cam Coffee is awesome because it is roasted fresh each month, and each month is a different flavor. Right now, we're limiting it to 100, and when I say we, I mean me. It's like when my wife says, we need to do this. We need to change the light, which actually means you need to change this light. You need to pick up the garbage. You need to do this. We means me. Anyway, we, as in me and you, will get a new flavor each month. Even if you order 3 or 4 weeks later, the coffee is still guaranteed to taste awesome. Each month, you'll get an awesome sticker that is kind of like a record label. You also get an extra sticker so you can put it on a poster board and collect all 12. And maybe if you collect all 12 and take a picture of it and post it on a social media platform, you'll get a prize. I don't know if you will or not. I'm still working out the details. So don't binge watch anything on Netflix or Hulu. Binge listen while you're drinking a cup of coffee. Cam Coffee. It's the right thing to do. Let's tear open these speakers. I dented the mid-range driver when I was moving these around, so they're a little bit fragile. That's okay. I mean, to be fair, you shouldn't be going and poking things. Poking the bear. Poking the cheap Chinese speaker bear. Pretty long, very coarsely threaded screw. All right, let's see what we got. Okay, well, it's hooked up. Hey, look at that. All right. Not terrible. The woofer screws are just hand tight in here. Always the sign of a high quality speaker is the ability to move the fasteners that are holding it down. Alright. Trim ring. I'm acting like I'm trying to be careful not to break these. Okay, there's a crossover in here. Let's pull that thing out. Inside I can see 2 iron core inductors, 2 resistors, 2 capacitors on a board. All right, crossover, basically we talked about it before, so crossover is sending the correct frequencies to the correct driver. So you don't have the drivers interacting with each other as much, which is what you don't want because most drivers aren't super cohesive, so they're not really designed to work together. Specifically with a mid-range crossover, well, then you get a lot of peaks and valleys. Hello. Now, on a 3-way speaker, you would generally have, for the mid-range driver, this one, it's called a band pass filter. Low pass filter and a high pass filter on the same speaker. Because you don't want the woofer to interfere with the mid-range. You don't want the tweeter to interfere with the mid-range. The thing with the bandpass crossover is, well, there's a lot of parts. I'm getting closer, bear with me. This is riveting internet content at its finest. Hold on. We're almost there. Oh God, it smells like formaldehyde in here. That's a sign of terrible glue. So I had some Rockville speakers in there. And they reeked of formaldehyde so badly, I couldn't keep them in the house. I'm not exaggerating. That is not hyperbole. Woo! We made it together on this hi-fi journey. Here, my friends, is that crossover. It actually has labels, bass, treble, and best of all, mediant. God, it stinks. About what you would think a crossover would look like for a pair of $200 3-way speakers. To give you an example though, the Sony SSCS5, which is one of my favorite little cheap speakers, come in lower price and they have a much better crossover than these. No, that's my screwdriver. I don't know a good way to get this thing off. Oh, there we go. Ooh, what's in there? Oh, there's 2 screws. Whoa! There goes the port! I don't think this was even glued in. It's gotta be good. Nope. Just pressed in. Let's take that out. The things I do for content. Alright. Weird. Look at this. On the bottom here, there's only 2 pins being used. So I guess they install this and then they glue this and just seat it down. I wonder what else they're making in this factory that they would be reusing these serial ports to wire up a tweeter. I would skip this one. It's a novelty. It kind of looks cool, but all show and no go on this one. If it had better bass, then I could kind of get past the peaky upper mid-range. But it does not have very good bass, although the screws are all sticking to it now. Magnet's not very good at all. I was trying to pull it up like this, but it was wedged in between there. Yeah. All right, that's it. If you enjoyed this video, why don't you check out the video when I bought the super cheap amp off of AliExpress. I will link it either right up here or up here. Okay? Okay. So, don't binge watch anything on Netflix or Hulu. Binge listen while you're drinking a cup of canned coffee and fill your soul with happiness. Thanks for watching.